Simon says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
Summary tasks help us organize our project, and they also give our project structure. Summary tasks can represent different phases of a project or even different groups of tasks. And by design, when we create a summary task, we can have subtasks of that overall summary task. So let's start out in this example by inserting some new summary tasks for existing tasks in our project. So I've added a few more tasks in here. I've set the duration, start and finish times, and if they have predecessors. You'll also see that we have a bit of a mixture of automatically scheduled and manually scheduled tasks. So if I take a look at the different tasks that I have in this project, I might want to divide these up into more manageable sections. As I said, creating summary tasks allows us to focus on just what we're interested in at any given time, and it also makes our project easier to read, easier to understand, and it gives it structure. So we're going to split this project up into a few different sections. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to select all of the tasks that belong to the first section. And our first section is going to be called Preparation Phase. So let's hover our mouse over where we have task 1 until we can see that little black arrow. I'm going to click and then I'm going to drag down to select all of the tasks that belong to this first phase. So that is basically going to be tasks 1 to 7. Let's go up to the Task tab, and then in the Insert group we have a Summary option. And this is going to allow us to insert a summary task. Now check out what's happened to our table just here. We now have new summary task at the top, and the other tasks are now effectively subtasks of this summary task. So let's give our summary task a name. We can click in the field, and this is going to be called Preparation Phase. You don't have to put it in caps, that's just how I've chosen to lay these summary tasks out. Now notice that as soon as I do that, I get this little black triangle next to the summary task. So this is a collapsible and expandable group now. I can click on the little arrow and it's going to collapse up all of the subtasks, click again, and it's going to expand them all out. Also notice with this summary task, if we check out the timeline, summary tasks are represented by a black bar. Now the duration of the summary task is very much defined by the durations of the subtasks below it. So the summary task is basically going to show us the duration when we add up all of these subtasks below. And the start and finish dates for the summary task again is going to be determined by the subtasks below. So the start date that you see up here for this summary task is going to be the start date of the earliest task in this group. And the finish date is going to be the finish date of the latest task in this group. So we don't really have to go in and edit anything for summary tasks because it's all determined by the subtasks below. And the reason why these summary tasks are quite nice is because at a glance you can see exactly how long this preparation phase is going to take. I can see it's going to take 18 days. I can see we're starting on March the 1st and the preparation phase is going to come to an end on March the 27th. So it gives you a really nice high-level overview. Let's add in some more summary tasks. So this time I'm going to select tasks 9 to task 17. Let's click on Summary once again. This is going to be the recording phase. And this time you can see the duration for this entire phase is 69 days, and we can see the start and end dates. And check out how that reflects in the timeline. Let's select tasks 19 to 24. Click on Summary. This is the documentation phase, and then finally we have the Go Live phase. So all of the subtasks are indented under their relevant summary tasks. And we can collapse up any that we're not interested in, which helps us remove the noise and really just focus in on the tasks that are of interest to us. Now notice that when we've added in these summary tasks, by default they are automatically scheduled summary tasks. But we can also have manually scheduled summary tasks as well. And manually scheduled summary tasks are sometimes quite good for showing us if we have enough time to get subtasks done. So I'm going to add in another summary task, and this is really just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to delete it straight away afterwards. But let's say I want to insert another summary task just here. So I'm going to highlight task 15. Let's go up to summary, and I'm just going to add in here editing phase. And I'm going to switch this to a manually scheduled summary task. Now, currently, the editing phase summary task only has one subtask, which is make video amendments. And the make video amendments task ends on June the 29th, so the summary task above reflects that as well. Now, check out what happens if I go into this summary task and modify the duration. I'm going to take this down to 2 days. Now, notice what happens here. I've got a red squiggly line underneath the finish, and if we check out the timeline, notice that it's showing in red. And that's basically telling me that the summary task is set to end before its subtask, in this case, completes. And this is probably something that I'm going to need to look at. Now, this doesn't generally tend to happen with automatically scheduled tasks, but sometimes when you're working with manually scheduled summary tasks, this problem might pop up. So it's good to know what it means and how to fix it. So now I can see that this is in red. I can see, okay, I've set 2 days for the editing phase, but we only have one subtask here, and that is 4 days long. So it's going to finish after the end of the summary task. Now I'm just going to take this back up to 4, which is an easy fix. As soon as I do that, you can see that it changes back to how it was previously, a teal bar with the summary task showing just above. I want to start to introduce you to the concept of tagging in OneNote. And we're going to start out with the most basic tag that you can add, and probably one that you'll use most often. And that is the to-do item tag. Now, the to-do item is great if you want to create like a to-do checklist. So for example, for this project, Project Artemis, there are lots and lots of different tasks that need to occur before this project can go ahead. Anything from organizing which team members are going to be sent to the different locations, to booking the training rooms, organizing flights and hotels, writing the training content, all of those different kinds of things. So in its most basic form, what you can do in OneNote is you can add a list of items or to-do items, utilize the to-do tag, and then check them off once they're done. So let's take a look at how this works. So I've created a new section called To-Do List, and I've called this page To-Do Items. I'm going to click my mouse right at the top there. And on the home ribbon in this tags group, you'll see that I have a to-do tag. Now, what you also might notice is that to-do also appears at the top of this tags list. And that's because it's probably one of the most popular ones you're going to use. Now, there is a keyboard shortcut to insert this particular tag of Control+1. And we haven't covered tags yet. You can see we have a lot of items in this big long list. We are going to go through some of these so you understand what they all do and how helpful they can be. For the time being, we're just going to concentrate on this first one. So let's click on To Do, and you'll see that it enters in a placeholder with a little checkbox. And I can then type in my to-do item. So assign team members to locations. If I hit the enter key, you can see I get another to-do box. Hit enter again, I get another one, so on and so forth. And I could carry on going, adding my different to-do items. And that's pretty much all it is. It's a very simple little utility, but it just allows you to keep track of the things that you need to do. And once they're done, you can just click in the box to tick those off. Now, you can make some very minimal modifications to how these to-do boxes look. So if I right-click my mouse, you can see I have options to uncheck the box. I can also remove the tag entirely. I'm going to talk to you about find tags a bit later on, but the one I want to go into is customize tags. So I'm going to select the to-do tag at the top, and I'm going to say modify tag. So if I wanted to, I could change the display name of this particular tag. But I can also do things like change the symbol, the font color, and the highlight color. So you have some limited customization options. So for example, if I click the symbol drop down, you can see I can change to any of these symbols. Now, I actually like having a checkbox, but it might be that I want something that looks a little bit different, maybe this green star checkbox. And you can see in the preview below what that's going to look like. It might be that I want to change the font color, so let's change that to a dark green color. And if I wanted to, I could add a highlight. Now, I don't particularly want that. I'm going to say none. And one important thing to note is it says underneath, customizations do not affect notes you've already tagged. So if I click on OK and OK again, you can see that the checkboxes I've already added aren't affected, so I'm not getting that updated formatting. But if I was to click somewhere else and then select To Do from tags, I'm going to get that new style. But of course, if I did have quite a long to-do list and I wanted to change the formatting, I could just select the current tags, jump up to my tags group and click the newly formatted to-do tag. And that's going to replace all of those. Now there's a whole heap of other things that you can do with tags, including the to-do tag, which I'm going to show you a bit later on because we have a whole module dedicated to exploring all of the tags that you can see in here and using them in a meaningful way. But for now, that's how you create a very simple to-do list with checkboxes.
As you can see here, this is the official website of Google Forms. Here, you simply need to click on Go to Forms button on the top. Before starting, make sure you have a Google account to get started with creating Google Forms. Here on the screen, you can see a few options on the top, like blank forms, a party invite form, a contact information form, etc. These are some templates from which you can choose any. In case you don't need the pre-made form templates, you can also select the blank form and start creating your form from scratch. So let's get started with selecting a blank template. Now this is the Google Form dashboard, or you can say the editor area of the Google Forms. You can see 3 tabs here. Under the Questions tab, you can edit or add the questions to your form. Under the Responses tab, you will be able to see all the responses of the people who will fill the form, and under the Settings tab, you can access all the settings related to your form. I will discuss more about these tabs later in the video. As of now, let's start with creating our survey first. Now, here you can give your survey an eye-catching title, as this will be displayed to the users. I'm adding the title name as Course Survey. You can also add a brief description of your form here. Once done, let's move to the next section. Here, we will add some questions to our survey. So let's start with the first question. For example, email. I want users to enter their email addresses. So for that, I will simply enter the title of the question as an email. You can customize the question as per your requirement. Now, from here, you have to select any option for how your question will be answered. Various options are available here, if you want the field to contain the short answer or the paragraph which will give the recipient a blank field to fill in. You can also select multiple choice or a checkbox, etc., depending on the question. So email IDs is going to be a short answer. Therefore, I will select the short answer field from the list. Now you can make the field required by toggling this button over here. Now from this menu, you can click on this plus icon to add another question. I want to ask the users to enter their date of birth, so I will simply enter the date of birth here. Now, when done, you can see that Google automatically selects the field, but in case it doesn't, you can select it yourself. You can make this field required if you want. I'm keeping this field optional as of now. I'm adding another question to my survey, which says, will you refer our course to other students? The answer to this question can be in 2 options, with yes or no. So we need to add the field accordingly. Here you can see 2 options, which I can use for this question. One is multiple field, and the other is checkboxes. If you select multiple choice field, then the user filling up the form will only be able to select a single option, while selecting the checkboxes allow the user to select all or multiple options at once. So in this case, I will select the multiple choice field, as I want the user to select a single option. Here, I will add two options. One is yes, and the other will be no. You can also see here, Google keeps suggesting you the options as well. Either you can use those or create options yourself as well. I will make this question a required one. Now, time to add another question. My next question is, in what quality do you watch our course? You can add any of the three fields here as per your question's requirement. It can be a multiple choice, a checkboxes, or a drop-down field. I will select the drop-down field for this question because I want users to select one of the given options from the drop-down list. So let me add a few video quality options here. That's it. Now, what if I want to divide this form into parts, as it will be easy for the users to submit the form in parts? To do so, I will use this option from the menu, which says Add Section. Once clicked, you can see the form has been divided into two sections. Now, user will be able to see this next section only after completing the first one. To get started with the second section, I will add the title name here. Description here is optional. It's up to you if you want to add it or not. I will click on this plus icon again to add questions to my second section. My next question will be, does this course help you achieve your goals? I will make this a checkbox field where user can select multiple options. Let me add the options here. First will be sometimes. Second will be always. Third is rarely. Now, audience can select the multiple or all the options here. What if you want to add a rating scale? To do so, let me add another question, which says, on the scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied are you from the course? You can see that Google has automatically selected a linear scale field for this question. So I will go with the Google and keep it linear scale only. You can edit the range of the scale here as per your requirement. You can also add the labels here, which explains your scale, like 1 being the not satisfied and 5 being the fully satisfied. So these labels will guide the audience to scale their satisfaction level for the course. Google Forms also gives you an option to add a tabular field if you want. Let me show you with an example. I'm adding one more question here, which says, please rate our course module individually. You can see that Google has automatically selected multiple choice grid option. You can also select this option yourself from the list if not automatically selected by Google. The multiple choice grid will create grid-like format. I'm adding the rows here, specifying the modules. I want users to rate the course from the scale of 1 to 5, so I will add the columns like these. Now let me add the last question to my survey, which says, do you have any additional comments? I will select the paragraph field for this, because answers to this question may cover 2 or 3 lines. You can make any of these fields mandatory by toggling the required switch. So that was all about how you can add the questions to your form. Now let me show you the preview of the form. This is how the form appears as of now. When someone clicks on the next button, second section of the form will appear. But before that, they have to fill all the mandatory fields. But what if I want to make it more attractive? So this is the time where I will talk about how to set the theme or change the colors of your form. So what you need to do is click on this color palette and select the theme color here as per your choice. You can also add an image to your header. That can be the cover image of your course as well. So let me select the image. You can also use any of these given images, or else you can upload one from your system as well. So let me search for a relative image. I will select this image here. Once done, click on the Insert button. You can see the image has been added here on the top. You can again change the color from here as per your choice. Let's preview the form to see how it appears to the audience. So you can see here the form looks amazing. Moving to another part of this video, let me show you the settings that Google Form offers. So click on Settings. You can toggle the switch beside this option if you want to make this form a quiz. I won't be doing that as of now. Next is Responses settings, where you can collect the email address of the people by toggling this option. You can also send responders a copy of their response and select the options accordingly. You can also allow the responders to edit the responses. It's all up to you. I will suggest you to always toggle this button on to limit one response, as this will ensure there is no spam or manipulative responses being submitted again and again. Under Presentation, you can explore settings related to presentation of the form, like you can show the progress bar, shuffle question order, or you can also explore these settings on your own. I would like to recommend to toggle this View Results Summary option because when you do that, responders will be able to see the survey results at a particular point of time. You can see some additional default settings here, which are self-explanatory. Here, you can change the form title again if you wish to. After everything is in place, you simply click on the Send button to send it to the audience. You can enter the email address here and send this form to their email IDs. You can also copy the form link from here and share it to your audience. You can also embed this form anywhere on your website by simply clicking on this button over here and just embedding this URL. As I've already copied the link, let me see how this form will appear. I'm pasting my survey link here. As you can see, it's asking me to sign into my Google account first. So let me sign in to continue with the process. Let me enter the login credentials. Once done, I can now fill in all of this information and submit this form. Let me fill the form and show you how we will be able to see the responses. Let me answer all the questions here. Once done, click on Submit. We need to solve this to make sure we are not doing any spam. You can now see the success message here. Responders can also click on the See Previous Responses to look for the same. Now, how will the administrator be able to view all of the responses? For that, let me shift back to the account through which I created the form. Here you can click on the responses. You can see all the details here, which says who has responded with all their details, like their unique email address and all the answers that the responders submitted. You can also see all the answers question-wise as well. Simply select the question here, and all the answers to that question will appear here. You can also view the responses individually. Simply select the email address of the responder from here, whose response you want to check. Here, a drop-down list will be added once you have multiple responses, and then you can click on any of those to view the responses of that particular person.
So if we jump back to our SharePoint online document library, I want to set up this automated workflow so that every time a new document is created in the documents library, it triggers the approval workflow. So if I upload a new document or if I create a new document, that's going to trigger the approval process and emails are going to be sent out to approve the document. So let me show you how you can do this. We're going to jump back across to Power Automate. And if you remember, I'm currently clicked on My Flows. Currently, I just have the flow that we created in the last lesson. So now what I want to do is I want to create a brand new flow. So using the menu on the left-hand side, let's click on the Create menu item. And this is basically going to show you 3 different ways that you can create a flow. You can start from a blank, you can start from a template, which is pretty much what we did last time, or you can start from a connector. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from a blank, which means I'm going to build my flow from scratch. And we have quite a few different options up here, but the one that we want is this first one, Automated Cloud Flow. And this is a flow that is triggered by a designated event. And in our example, the designated event is going to be that a new file has been added to the document library. So let's click on Automated Cloud Flow. The first thing I need to do here is give my flow a name. Now you can come up with something a little bit more explanatory than this. I'm just going to say document approval. And the first thing I need to do is choose my flow's trigger. So the trigger is when I add a new file into the SharePoint document library. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to search through all of the triggers because there are so many of them for just the ones that are related to SharePoint. And I can then have a browse through and see which one matches what I want to do. So the very first one in this list says when a file is created in a folder. And that is exactly what I want to do. So let's select this as our trigger. Click the Create button at the bottom, and I can now establish the properties for this particular trigger. So it's asking me for the site address. Now, if I click the drop down, that's going to show me all of my current SharePoint sites. And it's this one here that we're working in, SharePoint Online Training. I then need to choose a folder. So which folder essentially is going to trigger this flow? Well, it's going to be when I add or create a new item in my Documents folder. And this actually shows up as shared documents in this little list. So this is my trigger. So when I do add a new document, the next step is what do I want this flow to do? Well, let's click on New Step. Well, the action to this trigger is going to be that I want it to start the approval process for this document. And because approvals are built into Microsoft 365, I can just search for approvals and it's going to show me all of the actions related to approvals. And there are just a few of them down here. So the first one here, start and wait for an approval. Now that's exactly what I want it to do. I want it to start off the approval process and then I want it to wait until the approver either approves the document or rejects the document. So let's select Start and Wait for an Approval as our action to the trigger. Now I have some properties that I can complete for this. So my approval type, well, I want everybody that this gets sent out to have to approve it before that document is essentially properly approved. So let's select the first option from the list. I can now create a title for the approval. Now you can give it whatever title you like. I'm just going to say Doc for Approval to keep things simple. And then you can add in the email addresses of the people who need to approve this document. So again, because there's just me here, I'm going to assign this to myself. The other fields that we have here aren't mandatory, so I'm going to leave all of these blank and just click on Save. So now I have my trigger in green and then my action. And I could carry on going, adding new steps to create more and more complex workflows. And as I said, we're not going to dive too much into this because we then tend to go off down the tangent into Power Automate. But this is quite a nice simple example. I'm going to click on Save at the bottom to save that workflow. And now we're going to test it out. Now what you'll notice is that in the top right hand corner of the screen, I actually have a little test button just here. So once you've created your workflow, let's click on Test, and you can choose if you want to test this manually by adding a file into the SharePoint folder or automatically. Now I'm going to test this manually. And then right at the bottom, I'm going to say Test. And you can see that I now have a message at the top that says, to see it work now, add a file to the SharePoint folder you selected. So I'm going to jump back to my documents library and I'm going to create a little Word document and just put it in here. So let's jump up to the New button and down to Word document. And we'll just put some junk text in here. Hello world. I'm going to wait until the document says that it's saved, close it down. And I don't know if you saw in the bottom right hand corner, I got a notification from Teams letting me know that that approval has been kicked off. And what you'll also see now is that I have another notification from Outlook telling me that I've got a document to approve. So if I jump across to Outlook and take a look in my email, I can see, yes, there we go. That is that document, and I can choose to approve or reject. So I'm going to approve this. Let's add some comments and submit that back. And that document has now been approved. Now, when I jump back into Power Automate, you can see here I now have a green tick next to the trigger and also the approval. So it's telling me that those have been run successfully. If I click back on my flows, there is my document approval flow. If I click this again, you can see that in the run history, it's telling me that it's succeeded, and I can take a look at the different steps by clicking on the date, and it's going to take me back to this screen. And this flow currently, because of the way I've set it up, is going to run every time I add a new document into the document library. Now, just to finish off by showing you another short example of an automated workflow, this time we're going to turn our attention to social media. So maybe you are a content creator, maybe you upload videos to YouTube all the time. And something that most content creators do is when they upload a brand new video to their YouTube channel, they'll normally tweet about it as well and say, hey guys, come and check out my latest video. So in Power Automate, you could set up a workflow that says whenever you upload a new video to your YouTube channel, post a tweet that contains a link to the video. And you would do this in exactly the same way that we set up the document approval. We're going to jump back into the Create button in the left-hand menu and say Automated Cloud Flow. Now the flow name, this time I'm going to call this one Post a Tweet. And we need to choose the flows trigger. Well, the trigger for the tweet is going to be when I upload a video to my YouTube channel. So I'm going to type in YouTube to take a look at all of the YouTube related triggers. And I just have 3 of them, and the one I want is here when I upload a video. Let's select it and click on Create. Now it's telling me that I don't need to add any additional information for this step. So, okay, great. Let's click on New Step. So the trigger is the upload of a video to my channel. What is the action? Well, when I upload a video, I want Power Automate to tweet for me. So I'm going to type in Twitter and pull up all of the Twitter related actions. The one I want is here, post a tweet, and then I can choose the text that I want to be posted. So I might say, check out my new video. And the media to be posted, well, I want to post the video web link and click on Save. And of course, you can test this out by uploading a video to your channel and then checking your Twitter to make sure that it's posted. And if I click in My Flows, there is that flow that I can use over and over again. So those are a couple of simple examples of automated workflows.
Hi, from everyone at Simon Says It. We hope you're enjoying this training lesson. Please like this video to show your support for the channel. If you want to take your learning further, earn a certificate for this course, and gain access to over 200 courses ad-free, click up there and go to simonsaysit.com. Thanks for watching, and back to the course.
In this lesson, we're going to look at some organization tips and tricks to help you with your Google Drive. One great organizational feature built into Google Drive is the ability to color folders. Now, this only applies to folders and not files. So here I am in the example project folder. Let's say that every single project includes these same 5 subfolders. Just as we talked about with emojis and our brains reading images faster than it reads text, the same can be true for color. So for example, I can say that in all of my project folders, I want the Analyze subfolder to always be the color purple. So I right-click on a folder, go down to Change Color, and then select a color for that folder. Repeat that process for all of the folders that you would like to add a color to. Now, the key with using color is to use it sparingly or at a minimum. Be strategic and have a purpose for the use of the color on the folders. If every single folder had a color, you may begin to lose the effect of color to help you quickly navigate around folders. Now, another idea with the use of color is to use color by project, or maybe it is by year or by quarter. So for example, the first quarter, all projects could be blue, and the second quarter could be green, and so on. In my example of coloring subfolders for each project, my eyes will begin to be trained to look for, let's say, yellow before I look for the word implement. This goes back to the other things that we have mentioned, which is using the system you come up with consistently. One last thing to note about these colors on the folders is that it is only visible to you and your account. So the teammates that have access to these folders do not see these colors. And again, this only applies to folders and not files. Now let's look at stars. We have briefly touched on this when looking at hover actions and the starred section over on the left side of our navigation. If you recall, we mentioned to use stars sparingly so that you don't end up with thousands of files and folders in the starred section. So think of this as the files you are working on currently and you need quick and easy access to, but when the project is over or you no longer need it, make sure to remove the star. So to do this, you can hover over the folder or the file and then select the star. Repeat that process for other folders and files, and then you can select Starred in the left-hand navigation. To remove a star, click the star and it will disappear. And there you go. Third tip we have for organizing your files and folders in Google Drive is the ability to move files and folders. Do you clean your house? Probably. So Google Drive houses your files, therefore needs a routine cleaning, which often means moving files and folders or consolidating them or archiving them. To do this, you can begin by right-clicking and then select Move To. First, you'll be given a suggestion of where to place this file. You can also select Starred to reveal any starred folders, or you can select all locations. From here, you can navigate down into your folders or subfolders until you find the location where you want to move that file or folder. Notice from here you do have the New Folder button in the bottom left, and you have Move buttons on the right and at the bottom. Another move option that may feel familiar to you is to use the drop-down arrow beside of My Drive. From there, you'll see a list of your folders and you can dive down into subfolders. Just like on typical desktops, you can now drag a file and move it over to one of those folders or subfolders. Now that you know how to move those folders, make sure to come up with a routine or a schedule of how often you will come in here and organize your drive. A good starting point is at a minimum twice a year. So that could be possibly a spring cleaning and then again in the fall. Maybe if you work by quarters, you could do it at the end of each quarter. Either way, come up with something so that you can keep this Google Drive manageable. Great, so now you know about colors, using stars, and moving files to organize or clean up your Google Drive. Meet me over in the next lesson where we talk about a few more tips to help you get organized. See you there. Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Google Drive training. In this lesson, we're going to continue looking at ways to get organized with Google Drive. First up, we have document versions. Prior to using Google Drive, many users are used to labeling documents based off of their version. So let's say, for example, labeling this Google slide as V1 for version 1 and V2 for version 2, and so on. Some users mark versions by date. Depending on how many iterations of a document there are, you could end up with a lot of files to look through in your Google Drive. And if you're not using the naming tricks we talked about, it could be difficult to find the file you're looking for. Google Drive has the trick that you need to fix this situation and really streamline document versions. Let's look at this example file PDF. As I go to upload the file again, a warning is appearing that says this file already exists in this location in my Google Drive. It's asking if I want to replace the existing file or if I want to keep both. The great news is replacing the files won't change the share settings. Let that sink in for a second. Have you ever noticed that a flyer or an invitation, or maybe it's like an employee handbook, is sent out as a PDF by email or posted in the group chat? When changes are made, a new email or a new chat comes through with the latest version. But with this feature, by selecting Replace Existing File, that link and those share settings stay the same, but the file itself is automatically updated. So you don't have to resend out that file. And an added bonus for you, there's now only one single file in your drive as opposed to 2 files, which is more than likely going to grow to 3 or 4 or 5 or who knows how many in the coming years. With the Replace Existing File option selected, click Upload. Once uploaded, right-click on the file and now select Manage Versions. From here, you will see a list of the previous versions that are automatically numbered for you. Using the 3-dot menu on the right, you can select to download a specific version, keep the file forever, or delete a specific version. Speaking of keep forever, old versions may be deleted after 30 days or after 100 versions have been stored. So if you do need multiple versions to be kept in your drive, make sure that keep forever is selected so it doesn't get deleted. And finally, what is also great from this window, you can upload a new version directly from here with the button at the top. And when you're done, you can select Close. Great, so that is managing multiple versions of a document in Google Drive. Now let's take a look at adding some shortcuts to files. Let's say you are in charge of the financial side of a project by keeping track of possibly, let's say, the budget or vendors, or maybe it's the inventory. While working on a team, there is one single file that the rest of your team needs access to, either just to view or even possibly to edit. But on your side, this particular file fits within the folder structure that you've created. Let's say you log into work on this particular budget file, and while doing so, there are a handful of other files in that same folder that you need to reference. Would you rather have all of your files together, or some files in the team folder and everything else in your personal drive? More than likely, you're going to say it's easier if just everything is in one place. So a shortcut allows you to say, hey, this file lives in my folder, in my drive that I have organized with all the colors and the tricks that I've learned, but I'm going to put a shortcut to this document inside the Teams folder, so that way others can view it if they need it, but it's organized in the location that I want in my drive for quick and easy access. It's like allowing a file to live in multiple locations. So to do this, right-click on a file, or it could be a folder, and then select Add Shortcut to Drive. From here, you navigate to the folder where you want to move the item. For those of you working with Google Workspace for education or for business, you can also add these shortcuts to a shared drive. Great. So now the team can see this budget, but they do not see the rest of my folder where I have everything else organized. The best part is I can go directly to my drive to work, and I don't have to worry about digging into the team folders to find just the one file that I want. In this lesson, we're going to explore one of Gmail's greatest features, which is filters. With filters, you can send incoming emails to a label. You can automatically archive it, star it, or forward it. Okay, so we talked about labels and how we were able to create those from both out here in our email, but also by going into our settings. So let's do the same with filters. We're going to go first into our settings by clicking on the setting gear in the top right corner and then clicking on See All Settings. In the menu along the top, click on Filters and Blocked Addresses. To begin with, you may not have any filters, but if you do, you will see those listed here with an option to edit or delete them. At the bottom, I have the ability to create new filters or import filters. Notice that when I click the Create Filter button, what appears? It looks like the search box at the very top of my screen opened up. And that's because it is the search box. Notice it says Search in the bottom right corner, and it says Create Filter as well. That means this one single box gives you the ability to search and the ability to create a filter, whichever option you are looking for. Now let's go back to our main screen, and at the top, when you click on the search bar, notice we don't see the exact same window that we just saw. So to make that window appear, click on the Options button that you see on the right of the search bar. Great. Now from here, we need to identify how we want these emails to be filtered. This is all going to depend on the type of email that you're attempting to filter. So for example, if you want to filter all of the incoming emails from your manager or supervisor, you would type in their email address in From. If you're trying to filter emails that come from anybody, but maybe it has a specific topic, such as iPads, you could write iPad in the subject, or has the words. Once you have added your criteria, click Create Filter. Notice the options that you have here. One of the most powerful things you can do is apply a label. Why? Remember, we talked about the power of using labels, especially with the use of color to train our brain to quickly and easily scan our inbox for the most important emails when we first log in. So, select a label, and then also make sure to select the very last button that says Also Apply Filter to Matching Conversations. This will apply the feature to all previous emails that you've received. Make sure there isn't anything else that you would like to select, and then click Create Filter. All right, now let's watch this in action. So I'm going to send myself an email, and notice how I'm not going to touch anything on my screen, and as the email comes in, the label is automatically applied. The more email filters I create, the more manageable my email is going to become. Now let's go back and look at this again. Click on the Search Options button at the top of your screen. I also like to use the To box to automatically apply a label every time I email a person. Maybe it's a client, maybe it's a colleague, maybe it is my boss, whatever it may be. Another way that this can be used is if you happen to be on some form of mailing list, such as daily campus visitors, or it's the sort of colleague basketball team announcements that go out. You can set those emails to mark as read. Maybe also have it archived or apply a certain label so that you can still reference it when needed, but it's not taking up space when you log in and check your email each day. Okay, now before we jump off of here, one last thing I want to show you is that you can open an email, and in the top right corner, click the 3 dots. From this menu, select Filter Messages like these. Check to make sure that the filter is set up the way that you would like, such as who the email is coming from or what the subject is. Sometimes you may have to make adjustments. From here, continue as normal with creating your filter. Okay, so that's the wonderful feature of filters in Gmail. Prioritize and manage those incoming emails. You can automate labeling or actions and ultimately reduce your stress. Your brain will thank you. And dare I say it, email can now be enjoyable.
We're going to begin our lesson talking about Microsoft Word and Copilot. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is over here in the upper right, I have a Copilot icon. And you'll also notice very subtly, I have this little Copilot icon right there in the middle of my document. Now, my goal here is to create an article from scratch that does not exist. So what I'm going to do is simply click on this little icon right there, and then a box is going to pop up asking me to describe what I'd like to create. Now, what I'm going to have it do is create a 350-word article on how to start a career as a landscape architect. So very simply, I type that in, click on Generate, and now it starts to feed in the new information. As I scroll down, you can see there it is. Really nice. And then on the bottom, it asks me, hey, well, would you like to keep this? Potentially, or would you like it to regenerate? Or, you know what, maybe I'd like to start it all over again. Now, I could also go a little bit deeper and I can say, hey, you know what, can we please make this maybe a little bit more formal, a little bit more fun, maybe even a little bit longer? I'll just say, make it more fun and detailed. And then I'll go ahead and click on my arrow here, and it's going to redefine my draft. Now, some of you may notice in the lower left, I can see how many words I have. 583 words were initially asked for 350, and you can see it is more detailed. Now, what's also nice is that it's formatted in a really great way. So if we go over to here to my View tab and click on Navigation pane, you'll notice here I've got all of my individual heading 1s. I click on this here, I go to Home, and then notice they're all heading 1s. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep this one, but before I do that, just notice that Copilot does give me the opportunity to go back to the previous draft if I want to, or go back to this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Keep It. Now as I scroll down, I can see this is a lot of really good information. It breaks it down for me. Something that would have taken me possibly a couple of days to do, Copilot did it in just a few seconds. Now let's go ahead and take a look at an article that's already been written. So I'm going to go over here to this article about setting accessibility preferences in Acrobat Pro. Now this is a very long article, about 1,500 words, and I don't got the time to summarize this, really understand what it is. So I'm going to have Copilot do all the work for me. So I'm going to come back over to here to Copilot, and you'll see this little side pane pops up and says, hey, ask me anything about this document, and also potentially summarize this document. So I'm going to click on Summarize this doc. And you can see here it says working on a response for you. And you can see here it's now giving me a summary saying, here's a summary of the document, the main ideas. And it's summarizing this one paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph. And then you can see it's gone from 1,500 words to maybe about 100 words. But what's so neat is that I can very easily click on any of these little footnotes, and it's going to take me to that part of the article that I can refer back to. Pretty great. One thing I want you to notice that in addition to saying, ask me anything about this document, I can also go a little bit deeper in case I'm curious about what kind of prompts are available, because I may not know what Copilot even has available. So I'm going to click on this now, and you're going to see here it has this prompts, understand what, well, tell me more about the, and you can see here it's going to go in some detail about this, summarize this doc in how many points, list the pros and cons. So it's essentially teaching you how to work with Copilot. All right, but I'm going to go over here to View More Prompts. And now it's going to give me a whole bunch of different other ways to talk to it. Understand quickly. Explain this document in 3 sentences. We've already done summarize. Get the key information. Summarize this document into a high-level overview of the benefits of, and then of course you would put in your content there to fill it into the brackets. List the pros and cons of. Find specific information. Now, if I like any of these and I say, listen, this is one I use all the time, I can go ahead and click on this little bookmark icon. It's going to save the prompt. And then I can go over to here to save the prompt, and I can easily come back to it. So I'll go ahead and just try this one. I click on that. Tell me more about software used in accessibility. And then very simply click on Send. And just like that, you can see here, according to the document, Acrobat provides several preferences to help making the reading of PDFs more accessible, etc. That's fantastic. Now, of course, I can copy that, put it into another document, send that out as an email, whatever I like. Beautiful. Now let's go ahead and move on now to PowerPoint. Now, continuing on with my goal of talking about landscape architecture, I'd like to create a presentation on how to become a landscape architect. So let's go ahead and click on Copilot. You're going to see at the bottom it says, ask me anything about this presentation, which we're going to do in a little bit, but I'd like to create a presentation. Now I could click on that and it's going to start me off with a prompt, but I have one all locked and loaded, ready to go. I'm going to say, create a presentation on how to start a career as a landscape architect, and I'd like it to be 12 slides with an agenda and a conclusion. So notice that I am trying to be as specific as possible. Let's go ahead and click on send. And we have here you go, a 12-slide presentation on how to start a career as a landscape architect has been created. It'll also give me a nice little tip that if I'd like to, I can use the Designer tab to make this a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more engaging. Let's go ahead and just see what it's done here. Let's go ahead and see on the left-hand side, I've got about 11 slides, not too bad. And you'll see what it's done. It's giving me an agenda, just like I asked it to, and then it starts it off with what is landscape architecture, skills needed, etc., education and training. Now, for some of you, this might look like, well, that's a little bit underwhelming. But what's so neat about this is that they've given us notes as the presenter, because presentation decks should not be so busy. We should be the star of our presentation. So if I go over to here to my notes in the far right-hand corner, it's giving me some good notes to pull from if I am in fact giving this presentation. So let's go to all of these. Notice notes, notes, and notes. Now, as Copilot suggests, I do have the ability to go to the Designer tab. So let's go ahead and click on that. And you're going to see it is going to give me some nice options in case I don't like the way this is laid out. So let's go ahead and try this one. And you can see I can very easily override that. I like that one. Let's go over to here. You're going to see generating different slide ideas. I like that one. Pretty cool. Now, if we scroll way down to the bottom, you can see here is more slide designs, and then more and more and more. Let's try another one. Let's go over here to slide 2, and let's scroll down. You'll notice that it's even showing the words in a slightly different way. I like that. So instead of having bullets, you can see here I can put these nice little shapes around them. Let's now have PowerPoint and Copilot summarize a PowerPoint deck for me. I have this deck all about project management software, so this is very long, very detailed, and I don't want to have to read all this stuff here. So let's go back to Copilot. And you can see once again is ask questions about this deck, as well as this little view prompts. We saw that earlier in Word. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with PowerPoint for that same regard. So I'm going to go over here to view more prompts. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it out now. Now, in addition to my save prompts, I also have different categories if I wanted to edit, create, or let's go ahead and click on understand and also ask. So now it's filtered them out. And I'll go ahead and just say summarize this presentation once again. And now I click on this and I'll say all software programs and their features. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and do a follow-up on this because it gave me some very high-level information, which is good. I click on that, and I'll just say, tell me more about Asana. And it says here, according to this presentation, Asana is a popular task management tool that offers features like customizable boards, timelines, and calendars, which is pretty fantastic. Again, a huge, huge time saver. And just like with Word, if I wanted to copy that, put that into an email or a separate document, I would be good to go. Now let's say I wanted to add on a new slide. So let's go back to my view prompts. And then you can see here is create. And then you can see here is add a slide. I choose that and I'm going to say add a slide about Monday project management software. And now what it's going to do is going to generate a whole new slide just all about that particular topic that I failed to mention inside of my original deck. So you can see there it is, monday.com, and look at that. It gives me these 5 new bullet points all about that. Really, really wonderful. And just like with my other slides, I should have a set of notes here. I can go ahead and make that a little bit taller. You can see everything there. And then just like anything else, I can move this around however I'd like. And finally, let's go back to our design tab and let's just see how we can override the entire slide deck. And you can see how even though it created it independently, it's still linking up to my master slides as well as all my design specifications built into my themes. And now let's go ahead and see how Copilot can help us with Excel. So we're working in this sport inventory document, and what I'm going to do is just bring up Copilot, same way as I did in PowerPoint and Word. And what I'd like to ask it to do is to highlight all of my Canada and Mexico within the region column. Now I know I can do that with conditional formatting, but I'm going to ask Copilot to do that for me. Now before I do anything at all, you'll notice that Copilot asked me to convert this data to a table. So very easily I'm going to do that just by doing Control-T on my keyboard and then click OK, and now it's a table. That is one of the requirements of Copilot within Excel. So let's go ahead now and ask it a question down below. And my question is, highlight all Canada and Mexico items in the region in blue. Okay, so now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and send that off. And you can see it says done. I made the following changes, and it gives me this nice little hex value code of what it does. And if I scroll down, I'm going to be able to find every instance of Canada and Mexico highlighted in blue. Now if I change this to Can and Mexico, notice how that remains in blue because it is in fact a conditional format that's been created automatically without me having to do anything at all. Pretty brilliant. Now let's go ahead and ask it to do a chart for us. Down on the bottom in my prompt, I'm going to say, I would like to have the total unit price by store name as a column chart. So you can see here I have all my store names, I have my unit prices. I would like to know them all as a chart to have them demonstrated more visually for me. So I'll go ahead and click on send. And you'll see this pops up now, and it tells me exactly what it's got, but it's giving me the option to add it as a new sheet. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I click on that, and what happens is it actually has done a pivot table for me without me even asking it to do that. It's given me the chart, but the chart is in fact a pivot chart. So I can click on this now, and you'll notice this is now a pivot table. And if I click on this, I can very easily filter it, and I can sort it. I can do all kinds of different things to this as if this were just a pivot table all along that I created from scratch. Now, if you notice over here on the right-hand side, I have my unit price and my quantity, and I'd like to do a little bit of math on this to find out, well, what is my total amount of sales combining these two? So I'm going to ask it another question. Create a new column of the product of the unit price and the quantity. Essentially, my product is going to be my multiplication, and it's going to do a new column for me. So I'm going to click on send, and you can see it says generating a formula. And it's going to make a new column based off of that formula. And it's going to show me what in fact that formula is. And it's going to give me the option to then insert the formula as well as explain the formula if I'd like. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see just like that now I have a new column, and just understand that it's done the entire column. It's essentially applied an array formula for the entire table. Now, just like how we saw with PowerPoint and Word, we also have other prompts we can access: create, understand, edit, and ask. You can click on view more prompts, and these prompts, of course, are going to have to do with Excel. So I encourage you to explore all these, see what's going to work for you, as well as save your prompts and take a look at some of the other subcategories. I'll close this out, and then finally, let's do a lesson on how Outlook and Copilot can work together. Copilot and Outlook offer two main services. You can see here within Copilot, I have the ability to draft with Copilot as well as coaching with Copilot. Let's go ahead and have Copilot help us draft an email from scratch. So I'm going to ask Copilot to draft an email responding to a prospective client, telling them that we've received their request for information. Now I'm going to detail to say to Copilot that the email should explain that the services we provide include 24-hour customer service, award-winning product support, and a 1-year warranty. I'm also telling Copilot what the client's name is, and I'm also telling it what tone it should be and how long it should be. Now, before I click on generate, let's go ahead and click on this little equalizer generation options. And you can see here, I can change the tone as well as the length, in addition to me asking for it here inside of my narrative. So I'm going to go ahead and click on generate. And there you have it. Dear Dr. Fisher, thank you for your interest. We appreciate your time and attention. We were happy to provide you with more information about our services, etc. And then it tells it that we have 24-hour customer service, award-winning product. Okay, that's fantastic. We'll love to hear more about your specific needs, etc. And then there we go. There's my name. Love that. Now, if I'm not sure about this one and I really want to get more options, I can then regenerate it. Of course, I can discard altogether, or I can say, you know what, this one's pretty great. And I could also make some other changes in case I decide I have other factors I want to add to it, or maybe even I want to change the tone. Let's go ahead and click on regenerate. And now a new email appears. Thank you for your interest. We're happy to provide you with more details. We offer a range of high quality products, etc. So very similar, but maybe just slightly different wording. Maybe it's in more your voice. But what I want you to notice is that now I have two different drafts, just like how we saw within Word. I can go back to that original one, or I can go back to here, and I can even compare them. But I'm going to keep that second one just by simply clicking on Keep It. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Outlook and Copilot's second tool, which is the coaching tool. So I'm going to go back to my Home tab, click on New, and I'm going to put in an email that I've already written, and I want to get some feedback from Copilot on that. So you can see here I have, thanks a lot for your email. We're excited to work with you and think we can make you and your clients very happy. We have a reputation providing good customer service and pride ourselves on satisfying our customers for 25 years. Please respond when you can. Let's set up a meeting soon. Well, what I'd like to do is just see, well, you know what, how well is this written? What kind of tips can you give me? And just kind of basically trying to find a way to make this a little bit better. So I'll click on Copilot, and I'm going to go over here to Coaching by Copilot. And now you can see here it's analyzing my email for tone, clarity, etc., gathering some insights. And very soon we're going to see what Copilot is going to tell me about my writing. And you can see here, I've got tone, reader sentiment, and clarity. Let's go ahead and click on tone. It says, could be more enthusiastic. The tone of the email is polite and professional, but it could also convey more excitement and interest in working with a potential client. Instead of thanks a lot, the email could say, thank you very much, or we greatly appreciate. I really like that. Sound confident and reliable. The email shows that the writer has a good reputation and experience in providing customer service. This can make the reader feel more comfortable and trusting in the writer's abilities. Suggestion, replace think with believe or are confident. Try adding more details. The email could invite further communication by asking the reader about their availability and preference for the meeting, which has to do with the clarity. Now, what I could do is now make some changes based off of their suggestions and then click on Regenerate and see what the coach has to tell me about it. But I'm going to leave it at this for right now, go back and rewrite it on my own, but we'll leave it there for you to practice on Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word to see how amazing Copilot can be for you and all of your projects and productivity.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.